Okay, guys, take three. Let's give this one more try. The weather here today in West Virginia is a little, so I think maybe that's having an effect on my internet today because it keeps cutting me off. So let's see what we can do. If any of you are jumping on right now, if you could do me a big old favor and share this over to the Author Like a Boss page for me, that would be awesome because it doesn't look like it's allowing me to do that. When I try, it goes a bit wonky on me. Hey, Carrie. Okay, I was just saying it's take three. We're going to try it again. If there's any way that you could maybe share this over to the Author Like a Boss page for me, I would super duper appreciate it because my computer slash internet is apparently being contrary today. But we're going to try it again and see what happens. So, okay. So we'll give everybody kind of a moment to try to jump back on here if they are going to, and then we will give this another go and see what happens. And hopefully it'll cooperate this time. Now, so far, can you hear me okay? Hey, Carrie, can you hear me okay? Or are we still having some connectivity issues here? Okay, well, we're just going to pick right back up where we left off. So basically what we're going to start covering today is we're going to take a look at, design, color schemes, and that sort of thing. Ah, great. Good deal, Carrie. Thank you. Um, we're going to take a look at some color schemes, graphics, that sort of thing, and how you can make that kind of fun and easy and make it a little less complicated for yourself when you're building your website. So there's really two ways to kind of go about doing this on your sites as you're building them or as you're redesigning them. Now, if you have like an amazing image that you just love and it really fits with the genre that you write in and your style, then you may want to choose your colors and design based around that photo. A lot of authors do that, especially authors who kind of design their sites based around their world that they write about. And that's not necessarily for fantasy writers either. We all pretty much write about a world. It's just whether it's real world or some other world. Um, and some great sites to find some of the images like that, if you're not familiar with it, would be, like pixabay.com is a great one, Unsplash, um, Pexels. Those are all three really good sites for images that are free, royalty free, and you can use them for commercial use on your sites. Hey, Melissa, welcome back. This is take three. And of course, if you're looking for more photo options for graphics for your sites, there's always like Adobe Stock and Shutterstock and places like that that offer paid licensed images as well. Now, the other way to go about it is choosing your color scheme first and then choosing graphics and other design elements that fit within your color scheme. And a lot of people, that's where a lot of people get stuck because they're not sure what colors they should choose, or the colors that they do choose, they're not sure if they work well together. And that's kind of what we're going to touch on today. Hey, Lori, welcome back. We're going to see if it works better this time. So now, unless you are, really, really, thank you, Carrie, I appreciate that. Unless you're really well established, have like a very well-known author brand, think corporate logo like Coke or Pepsi or Starbucks. Coke, you think red and white, Starbucks, green and white. Unless you have that kind of recognizable brand, of course, you would want to focus your design elements, colors, those kind of things around that branding. But most of us, especially just starting out, don't have that kind of, logo, recognizable logo and branding already. So we have a little bit more flexibility with how we can build our sites. Now, a few, yes, yay, we're going to try it again. So a few real quick tips to kind of keep in mind to help when you're choosing your colors and stuff for your site. And the first is obviously your genre. You know, if you write bloody horror, light pastel colors are probably not your first color choice, and rightly so, because that really wouldn't fit with your genre. You would want to go with more muted colors or very bold reds and blacks and that sort of thing. But you still want to make sure that your colors all work together. Now, the second quick tip for choosing your colors is, of course, your personal style and preferences. Just because you write horror doesn't necessarily mean that it's all going to be red and black and gray. You know, you may branch out into other things that fit your style a little bit better. And one of the most important tips I can give you as far as choosing colors and stuff for your website is readability and usability. And those are two extremely important concepts when it comes to web design. You know, if your readers go to your website and they can't read it, or it's very hard on the eyes, it's very difficult to read because either the colors are not contrasting enough, um, or they're too contrasting, then they're not going to stick around because they're not going to want to give themselves a headache trying to read that. So that's something really to keep in mind when you're choosing the colors for your site. It needs to be kind of easy on the eyes as far as reading. Now, contrasting and complementary. That's the other thing you want to keep in mind. So while you may want mostly complementary colors on your site, and that's fine, but you also want to choose at least one contrasting color. And here's why. Um, think about your call outs, your call to actions. If there's any particular content on your site that you really want to draw attention to, the contrasting color is going to allow you to do that. Because it will immediately draw your eye to whatever it is you're using that contrasting color on, because obviously it contrasts with the other colors that you've chosen for your site. So that being said, that's very simple, easy, quick tips. But you may be asking, okay, Stace, that sounds great, but how do I do all that and still make it look awesome? Yeah, glad you asked. There's actually a lot of different websites and resources that you can use, both online and off, and that's where we're going to start. So one of the sites I want to share with you today, and don't worry, I'm going to come back and put all of these links down here in the chat so you'll have them. But one of the sites I want to focus on and share with you first is actually by Adobe. It's called the Adobe Color Wheel. In fact, let me just see if I can pop this down here in the chat for you. Less gothic, yes. Actually, I'm trying to go more gothic with mine, so maybe we can switch some ideas from each other. So maybe, you know, maybe we can find a happy medium there for both of us. Um, can't forgo the teal. Yes, I love teal. It's one of my favorites. Okay, now I just dropped a link here in the chat. That is for the adobe.com color wheel. Now, I'm going to give you fair warning on this site. Really, very much like a lot of the image sites, Pixabays and the other, if you can really kind of go down the rabbit hole on this site with the color wheel tool. And I say that because once you start playing with the colors and the different options on there, you look up and bam, it's like 3 hours later. So you've been warned. Just like the image sites, you can lose a lot of time on this site because it's a lot of fun to play with that color wheel tool. And it gives you some really great ideas as far as contrasting colors and complementary colors that you may want to use in some of your themes. Which, you know, a lot of your WordPress themes, if you're using WordPress sites, will have all this color functionality built in. So that is a great place to start. That is the adobe.com color wheel. Now, the other one is if you don't really want to either take the time to play with the color wheel, or you're just not really sure where to start with it. You're not even really sure what colors you absolutely want. Maybe you just want someone to say, hey, here's a bunch of pre-made options that you can kind of scroll through and look at. There was a website that was actually, I first found it from someone who shared it in the Author Boss Academy, and I have it bookmarked. I look at it frequently because it's awesome, and it is actually from Shutterstock. It's on their blog, and they put together a fantastic reference of, hey Cecilia, of a list of like 101 great color schemes to use. So I'm just going to pop that down in the chat here, that link, so that you have that as well. And like I said, that's over at Shutterstock, and it is a fantastic reference. There are, like I said, 101 on there, and it gives you everything from very muted, very classy, classic type of color themes to very bold and bright and contrasting themes for colors as well. So that is a great reference and a good place to start if you just want to scroll through some. Now, the other one, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, but when you're out and about at your local hardware or home goods store, this is something that as a web designer, I have a ton of these laying around in actually in a big notebook that I keep, and that is paint swatches. And it sounds absolutely crazy, I know, but it is a fantastic reference for putting together color schemes. And as a web designer myself, I've done that for 20 years. I actually refer to that quite a bit because I'm very much more on the techie side than the design side. And so I do need some help sometimes with coming up with the color schemes. And that has been a great resource for me. If I'm ever at the local Home Depot or something, I always hit up the paint swatches. So I have a big notebook full of those. So that's your offline version of doing the same kind of thing. And put some of those colors together. Get creative. Kind of put your swatches together. See what works, what contrasts really well. Keep all of those handy. You might use them if you're redesigning your house too. It's always handy to have around. Now, the thing about colors is there is an entire psychology behind the use of colors, both in standard print advertising and in digital advertising, online websites, all of that sort of thing. And there have been tons of studies done on it, from ADA to Psychology Today. There was a big write-up in there, and I want to share, if you really want to dive into the psychology of using colors and specific color combinations on your website, there's a great article to get you started. I'm going to drop the link down here in the chat again, and it's to entrepreneur.com. And it's a great article about that, kind of is a nice intro to the psychology of different colors and color themes that you can use on your website, and how the colors and branding will portray certain emotions and certain reactions from the people that are visiting your site, whether you're trying to instill a sense of trust and stability. You might want to go with your greens and blues, that sort of thing. If you're doing something more creative, more upbeat, you might want to go with yellows, purples, any of those kind of colors. If you're doing more in the romance genre, depending on whether it's more, sweet contemporary, historical, or more erotic romance, you might want to, choose pinks and reds and those kind of colors with blacks and grays and silvers. So there's a lot of different psychology that actually goes in behind that, which is a very good thing to keep in mind when you're choosing your contrasting color for like your call to action buttons. Red generally symbolizes urgency. Do this now. It's very urgent. You want to get right on this. You don't want to miss out. Whereas yellow is considered very upbeat, very happy, kind of happy-go-lucky. And, your blues and greens are a little bit more muted, a little bit more not really corporate, but more like, inducing trust and that sort of thing. So that's a great article to get you started if you really want to dive into the psychology of the colors behind the colors. And it might even give you an idea, at least for your contrasting colors, what you might want to go with. So that is a very, very quick overview of how to get started choosing your color schemes and working with between your colors and your graphics on your website to basically have your website the most pleasing it can be for your readers, because at the end of the day, it's all about your readers, not about us, which is something I had to learn. But I want to give you a quick recap here of a couple things to keep in mind, and then I have some homework for you. I know, homework. But the things you want to remember: your genre, obviously, your personal style and preferences, readability and usability. That's the big one, because if your readers can't see it, can't read it, or it gives them a headache, they're not going to stick around. And remember your contrasting and complementing colors. Even though you may go with mostly complementary colors, pick at least one contrasting color for those special call out sections of your website. Now, you've got a couple little tools that you can use there. Yeah, paint chips are awesome. I love them. Ooh, that's such a good idea, Lori. Butterfly cards. I love that idea. You guys make me want to pull out my crafty stuff, and I don't have time for crafty stuff. I need to be writing. It's Nano month. So use those tools Don't spend too much time on the Adobe color wheel because it will suck hours out of your day if you're not careful. But it's a great tool to use. So for your homework, I want you to go and visit any of those websites or your local Home Depot or Lowe's, and start playing around with some ideas for color schemes for your website. And now that's true whether you're building one now, whether you're getting ready to build one, or whether you've been thinking about doing a redesign on your existing site. It's a great place to start. And come back here once you find some color schemes that you like. Take a screenshot of them or snap a photo with your smartphone. Come back here on this video and share them with us. I want to see some of your color schemes that you come up with. And when you share it, post your genre, because I want to see how well your color schemes are matching up with what other people perceive as colors for your genre. It's a great way to get some feedback. Now, as always, if you really want to dive deep into the tech aspects of authoring like a boss, I'm just going to put the invite out there. You should join us in the Academy because we have weekly live calls, and they're fully interactive live calls where we deep dive into your biggest questions, whether that's tech with me, marketing with Ella, writing with Carol. We get into some fantastic discussions on our weekly live calls. So, and that like I said, that includes me for all of your tech issues and questions as well. And don't forget to jump over to the authorlikeaboss.com/notify and get signed up with that, because that will give you a quick little reminder in your Facebook Messenger anytime we're getting ready to go live in the group. Now, that being said, does anybody have any questions for me on color schemes and graphics, and are you running into any challenges? Or did any of this make any sense at all and help you out while you're, thinking about designing your website? Drop some comments down here and let me know what you're thinking about it, and if you have any questions. Yes, absolutely, Carrie. Those are some great colors, especially with the deep hot pinks and the dark grays. I've seen a lot of the erotic romance websites that, to me, almost missed the mark and went more. To me, just the color scheme alone felt more almost thriller horror than erotic romance, which I don't think was what they were going for. So yes, the deep hot pinks, the dark grays, blacks, it's fantastic for that genre. Yes, ma'am. Our tech call is up for tomorrow. So if anybody has a deep dive, don't forget to put in your deep dive questions, because I know we've got a lot of stuff come up, especially now that we're in Nano Writing Month. And everybody's going to need to be formatting some books and such. And, got our Done in 3 months coming up. So any of those that you might have any tech questions on, definitely hit me up on those. Okay, well, in the meantime, if anybody does have any comments or questions on this topic, definitely drop them down in the comments below. Don't forget to go do your homework. Go to those sites, find you some color schemes that you really love and you think fit your genre, and then come back here and share them with us and give us all some of your ideas. Because I think a lot of us, I know myself, I could definitely use some help on my current site because I'm in the middle of trying to redesign it. So I could definitely use some inspiration. So like I said, I hope this was helpful and gave you a quick dive into colors and graphics for your site. And I will be back probably here in a couple, 2-3 weeks with another tech live call here in the group. And until then, join us over in the Academy, and I will see you soon. And happy authoring. Bye, everybody.